So Brian, Leeds have put a big dent in whatever title hopes Leicester had. A 3-1 victory. What went wrong for Leicester today?
I think you have to compliment Leeds on how they played, Nathan. Leicester just weren't at their best. They've obviously been on a very good run, 7 games unbeaten, 4 wins and 3 draws. But they struggled in the attacking part of the pitch in general today. Obviously, they conceded goals. And they never looked particularly settled at the back. Johnny Evans and Fofana in the first half, for whatever reason, never looked comfortable with Castagna at right back. Leeds made several good chances in the first half before, apart from the excellent goal they scored. And they'd got a good platform to do well in the game, Leicester, by scoring that goal. They started the match reasonably well. Brilliant goal, great work by Barnes. Lovely little ball back to him from Maddison. 1-2. Had to juggle his feet. Lovely little touch to get it from his left foot and manoeuvre it into a position that he could score with his right foot. It was a great goal. But then within 2 minutes they conceded the goal. But they had looked likely to concede and never looked particularly comfortable with the back. The manager obviously wasn't happy at half time, and even before half time he made the change whether Castagna had an injury or not. Jack Harrison was causing him a problem, particularly from diagonal balls. He wasn't reading it very well, Castagna. And then they brought on Pereira at half time. Soyuncu came on too, and Soyuncu come on at half time. Pereira was already on, changed the system. But they never had a dominance in midfield today. That was one of the quietest games I've seen Tielemans play. And they're obviously missing Ndidi in midfield. Mendy's a very experienced player, has done well for them in the past, but didn't do it today. And obviously missing Vardy up front, who's such a key player. And Perez, you'd have to say, he didn't do enough today. Always strikes me, he's a little bit lightweight when it comes to the better teams, the big games. Not that Leeds are such an outstanding team, they're a middle table team, but physically he never seems to have it as an out and out centre forward. He always has to play off as centre forward or wide or in the number 10 position. But Leeds were the better team overall today. They took their chances well. Clinical in the second half, didn't make too many clear-cut chances, and Patrick Bamford man of the match. The final pass for the first and third goals, and a magnificent finish for the second goal, which was the absolute crucial goal in the game.
Talk about Bamford then, because he's acknowledged himself there were a lot of questions coming into the season as to whether he was be good enough for the Premier League. He'd been around a few Premier League clubs, never probably got a run of games to show what he was all about. What is it about him that actually this season he has got to the level where he's on 11 Premier League goals, where he looks a very comfortable Premier League player?
Well, the reason why he hasn't played regularly in the Premier League before, and he's been around the league on the fringes of teams and got some games. If I'd say about why do players move clubs so frequently, it's usually because they haven't done it at one club, but there's always another club that thinks they have some special ability, and that manager feels I'll get it from him. I think he's been one of those players who has always looked very elegant in possession and technically very skillful, but has always lacked a little bit of drive, I'd say, and physicality about him. The sort of stuff, a languid type of style that would frustrate certain managers that would be demanding of high energy, aggressive centre forward play. But now he's found a manager who believes him. Bielsa's a very demanding manager, and he's responded to those demands in not only a high work rate and I wouldn't say the most aggressive type of effort, but he gets around the pitch well and helps in the high press that is demanded by Bielsa in most games. But obviously his goal scored in 16 in the league last year as Leeds, in the end they won the league convincingly. I think they won the league by 10 points. Then this year he goes into the Premier League, you're wondering about him. I'm sure the Leeds fans wondered about him. Got off to a good start. He has 10 goals going into today's game, which is a goal every second game, just a little bit above that. But his performance today shows you why he's in the team and why they can't leave him out of the team. I mean, his touch and the timing of the pass on the first goal, first touch, and then a little touchy outside of his left foot, putting it into the path of Dallas to score the goal. The timing and the weight of the pass, the run and the speed. He ran away from Evans. Not that Evans is one of the quicker players in the league now at 33, but he first of all to stay on side and be available for the pass on the left hand side on the counter attack. Then to run away from Evans, to be unselfish enough to say, right, well, he's going to be in a better position to score the goal than me. I'm going to put it into his path. I'm not going to add to my goal tally of 11 and make it 12. The most important thing was for the goal to be scored by Harrison. Times his own finish on the second goal. His all-round game today was great. His touch was good. Wasn't in the game as much in the second half, but there he was in the right place to score the second goal and make the third goal. Really good performance.
You said during commentary Leeds could now finish really anywhere from 6th to 16th because it is so tight. The job that Bielsa has done this season, like he's put out there as the godfather of modern coaching because of the influence he's had on the likes of Pep Guardiola and Maurizio Pochettino. Like when you go through that Leeds side and where those players have come from and lower leagues and worked their way up through the last few years, it is a remarkable job he's doing. Just how good is it? And when you look at what he's done with Leeds, does he deserve an opportunity at one of the biggest clubs when another job comes up?
Well, I think he's a very different personality. He's obviously a very stubborn bloke. He seems to operate without contracts and deals with clubs on their word and his word, which is most unusual in today's management era. I would say that he might be hard going to work with as a club as well, because he's obviously a fairly stubborn individual in how he operates, and once he makes decisions, he expects them to be supported by the owners of a club. He's had several clubs where he hasn't stayed too long, where he obviously didn't feel that things were working out, or he wasn't given the authority that he wanted. I think he's in an ideal situation in that he's got Leeds up, several near misses in previous seasons, but with other managers and him himself, a couple of seasons where they just missed out, and then they make it finally last year. And it's with great joy and glee, so much frustration that Leeds have been off it and out of the Premier League for so many years. And, I think the best they could have hoped for this year was a steady season, first season back. And that's very much what they're having. But not only having a steady season, imagine how their fans would be reacting to the type of football they're playing and the fact that they're taking on the best. Yes, they concede goals and they've had a few hidings and a particular spanking by Manchester United, but equally they've handed out a few heavy defeats themselves. I mean, they've had a heavy defeat from Leicester earlier in the season, beaten 4-1, and today they turn it around against one of the best sides in the league and they win 3-1. So they are that type of team. They're unpredictable in a way of how the match will ultimately turn out, but what they are also predictable about is that you'll get a high energy performance, attacking performances, enthusiasm, creating chances, yes, coughing up a few chances as well, but it's a style that a supporter of any middle-ranking club would say, yes, we'll have a bit of this, rather than a relegation struggle, that's for sure. And I would think what it's done, it's given the owners the encouragement to invest further in the team. They've spent a bit of money on attacking players this year. You see the likes of Rodrigo, expensive boy from a big club in Spain. And, a couple of other players that they've invested in, you'd say, yeah, they're prepared to have a bit of a go. So I think while it's mostly the same team as last year, I think Leeds fans can be happy that there'll be further investment, that they're not going to get relegated this year. As I said, I don't think they'll finish in the top 6, but they're certainly not going to be involved in any relegation scramble. And that's more than a good position for Leeds to be in, given there's no fans in the ground and that passion that there is at Elland Road, how influential that could be the way they're playing at the moment, but still they're getting results.
Yeah, they might have been out of the Premier League for 16 years. They still won't like you saying a mid-ranking team.
I mean in terms of where their standing is currently. I don't mean in their terms of their potential or their history. I mean, everybody who has followed football knows that Leeds have been a club in the past, got to the semi-final of Champions League under David O'Leary, have won leagues in that era, the Don Revie era. What a great club they've been. But, you know, in recent years they've also been clubs who've sold their ground and sold their training ground, and have been at a low ebb with a lot of uncertainty around the ownership of the club, a lot of broken promises. This is a stable time for Leeds and a great time, and it looks like Leeds could be on the way back to be at the. It'll be hard for them to get back to the level that they were at in the, let's say, the 60s and 70s era in particular, and the Dave O'Leary times to a degree. It'll be hard for them to compete at that level again, but at least there's a potential for that now with stability. And you know, if the stadium gets modernised, I think, and they can get bigger crowds in, they could return to a higher level than where they've been for many, many years.
We'll wait to see what happens with Liverpool, but it's been a good weekend for Manchester City so far. They got the job done yesterday, another win, another clean sheet, and then Manchester United end up drawing with Arsenal and more drop points, and it feels as though maybe a title challenge is a step too far for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side. What did you make of Manchester United, Arsenal? There was a sense, listening to Jamie Carragher after the match, that looking at the performance against Arsenal and Liverpool, that there was a missed opportunity there, that both those clubs were in a weakened state when United went to play them, and maybe United just didn't have the confidence just yet to go and kick on.
Yeah, I think there was a respect. Both sides had respect from the opposition's attacking threat, from the pace that they had in the attack. Now, as it happened, Arsenal missed a bit by not having Saka yesterday. Aubameyang, obviously, and Tierney, what Kieran Tierney gives him as an attacking player down the left-hand side, even though he's playing as a full-back. So I think from that point of view, I think it was a lost opportunity for Manchester United. But, you know, Solskjaer will probably look at it and say, well, we're away to Arsenal and we did okay, we didn't get beaten, it keeps our run going, we're there and thereabouts. But the problem is now that Manchester City are on a roll. They lost a couple of games early in the season, lost to Spurs early on, lost heavily to Leicester, then had some draws against some Midland teams like West Ham even, and you're going, are they still in recovery, Manchester City? Are they at a weak point? But now they've really steadied the ship. They're on fire now. Eight wins, I think, eight wins in a row, and it's getting tougher for the chase and pack. They are in a position where they're in a position to get away a little bit, particularly Liverpool got a couple of difficult games before the big game next Sunday. But Manchester City are doing their own stuff. Forget about the opposition. They're doing their own stuff. As I pointed out the day before the match, they're on 44 points in 20 games. It's a good average. Not by Manchester City standards, but by anyone's standards. You're saying, well, you're averaging over 2 points a game. That's quite good. The problem is for the other teams is they are not even averaging that. They're below that. And Liverpool are way off where they were last season. Important win for them during the week against Spurs. But can they continue that? Can they get their whole mojo back in place that they had last season? It doesn't look like it with the problems that they have at centre back.
Great stuff, Brian.
Thank you, Nathan.